Mr. Agrawal, again, coming to the intent of PLI schemes, all of these PLI schemes will be there for a 5-year period. These are enablers for the industry to meet certain cost disadvantages. But there is a lot of heavy lifting that the industry has to do on its own as well in order to grow market share globally, play a bigger role in supply chains globally, and have greater exports as well. Now, what would you recommend to the industry from here onwards? The government has brought in an enabler. What can the industry do now?
See, this is a very, very important issue that you've just raised. We've been, in the last 2 years, one of the fundamental transformations in the mindset of Indians broadly and the Indian industry is the can-do approach. I think in the last 2 years, the COVID times, the way we have come out of that situation and the way this country has managed COVID-related aspects and, a whole lot of other things. The way we have managed the pandemic, manufacturing, other activities, we have, managed to support large sections of population during this entire time, the way we have managed a whole lot of international issues. India today is a much more confident nation. And that is the thing that I see even in the industry today. Now, the industry is looking at huge global opportunities. And that mindset is visible across the Indian industry. And that is the best thing that I see today when you interact with the leaders of the industry today. And that is what they need to do. You need to think, the industry needs to take risks. You need to think global, and you need to innovate continuously, not for just Indian market, but for global markets. Industry needs to continuously develop their own standards. We end up following international standards, and then we say, when you import equipment, comply with those standards, end up paying money. Can we not have innovation driving our own products? Can we not have our own standards which, because of their quality, we send out to the world and then try to monetize it globally? This is what I would say, and a whole lot of the mindset change it is already visible to me so far as the Indian industry leaders today are concerned.
All right, you are saying that you are looking at some change in mindset at the industry level. Mr. Menon, to get you back in, tell us what you are doing at Blue Star in order to grow market share, not just in India, but in global markets as well. And a question that I had put to Mr. Jasbir Singh, what more can be done? Are there any kind of other facilitators that you would like to seek from the government in terms of customs duties? And also, are there any other products which you feel that the Indian industry can leverage domestically to grow market share in India and abroad as well?
Yeah, just to answer the first question, Mr. Luthra, the domestic Indian market is roughly around 7 million units today, and we expect that to grow to roughly 24 million units by the year 2030. Our exports currently is negligible, as good as zero, and we expect there is a clear possibility that even if we take 15% of the global exports by the year 2030, we are talking about 16 million units, and that is what adds up. The 24 and the 16 is what adds up to the 40 million manufacturing capacity that will get built in India by the year 2030. Now, as far as the domestic market growth is concerned, after 2 years of lockdown and COVID-related struggles, the industry is seeing a great summer this year. We expect the market to grow phenomenally in the first quarter. And with that background, I see a growth of roughly 20% CAGR between now and 2030 is a distinct possibility. Blue Star, for example, we've currently a market share of roughly 13%. We intend to take it to around 15.5% in the next 2 or 3 years. So our numbers are going to grow significantly over the next few years. In terms of exports, while we have a footprint in 19 countries, we are also very happy that the government of India has signed up FTAs with UAE, with Australia. There is UK and Israel which is happening. There's GCC, which is happening. Now, all these FTAs, there are many parts of the air conditioning and refrigeration finished goods, which is getting included in this FTA. Now, this will give a big booster for us, for the entire Indian industry, to become an alternate to China, to address the requirements of many of these countries. And we see this as a great possibility. In terms of what Blue Star is doing, we have sort of established our footprint in many of these countries and expanding our channel to leverage this benefit of the FTA, which is going to start flowing in from the current year itself.
All right. Interesting to hear those points. My final question to Mr. Agrawal. Mr. Agrawal, you have been telling us about the contours of the PLI scheme. Now, this was a fiscal intervention by the government. What about some of the non-fiscal interventions that you are likely to make over the next few years? What you may be considering in order to further make it easier to do business, easier to manufacture, easier to localize in India?
See, if I talk specifically of the air conditioning sector, one of the interventions that was taken was that, we stopped imports of air conditioners with gases, with the gas filled in. Now, that one step reduced our import bill by 80%. Now, that is something that has been done. This kind of intervention, so PLI is not something that is being implemented in isolation. We are looking at the overall growth of industry, and with continuous interaction with different industries, we are looking at comprehensive measures that may be needed from time to time for supporting the industries. Today, the focus is on Make in India. It is about Atmanirbharta. And this entire PLI scheme is based, as Jasbir has just clearly stated, we are looking at manufacturing in India to grow from 25% of 5 million to about 80% of 40 million. And all this is not based on imports of critical components. This is about creating the component ecosystem within India. This component ecosystem is not just going to support ACs and LEDs, but it is also going to support the related products. So we are actually looking at all measures which may be needed for supporting local industry domestically.
Right. Mr. Agrawal, thank you very much for joining us here on News Center, giving us your view on the PLI scheme for the white goods sector, and also what the industry needs to do now that these fiscal interventions are done. Mr. Jasbir Singh, Mr. Mukunandan Menon, thank you very much for joining us here on News Center. With that, we come to the end of this program, but news and updates continue on CNBC TV18. Don't go anywhere.